Hello and welcome. I'm Anant Rangaswamy and you're watching the first episode of Storyboard Marketing Masterclass, where each month we will dissect, analyze and understand the role marketing plays in business. Today we are focusing on India's auto sector, one that's seen some challenging times. Hit hard by poor economic growth, high interest rates and rising fuel prices, the Indian market has been in the middle of a slowdown over the past 2 years. And though Autobody Siam says that sales have risen in May, most of the growth is in the two-wheeler category, with four-wheelers just about staying positive. The fears of a below-average monsoon could dampen the revival spirit. How then does the auto marketer keep sales up with possibly reduced A&M budgets? Let's find out. Joining me today are Delna Awari from Tata Motors, Avik Chattopadhyay from Volkswagen India, and Santosh Iyer from Mercedes-Benz India. Delna, I'll begin with you. If I asked you to define the single biggest challenge that you as a marketer face today, what would that be?
It really is about establishing our new brands. As you know, we've just launched new cars, Zest and Bolt. So it's about taking that message out there to the consumer in a manner where we are authentic, where we build on the strengths of what is traditionally as Tata Motors, sturdiness or space or the trust that we have, and bring in the new features on the new philosophy of Tata Motors, whether it's around design, connectivity, technology. So how do you authentically communicate that to the consumer so that they actually go for our products?
Right. What about you, Avik?
Our immediate task or challenge is how to sell our cars better by ensuring a better customer experience, both at the point of sale as well as through the entire ownership life cycle. And as we in the industry know, future numbers don't come from present numbers, but future numbers come from satisfied customers. So the more we do and act towards satisfying our present customer base, they will work as positive brand ambassadors for us to help sell our cars today and tomorrow better.
Right. And now, Santosh, what about you? What keeps you awake at night?
Yeah, for us, actually, we are in a bit of rich man's problem with luxury as a segment slightly growing. So, what you rightly mentioned, the auto industry showing a degrowth, but luxury is showing slight growth, and we growing the fastest with around 28%. But as a marketeer, I think what we feel is India has huge potential. Still, it's a 33,000 car market, all brands put together in India approximately. And for us, we have to see how to grow luxury as a segment, how can Indians be given a taste of luxury, and once they really decide, how can we get them to our brand, being one of the most admired brand there. So we have to start a bit more in deep in terms of penetrating new markets, trying to give this taste of luxury to the new India which is emerging, the young India which is emerging. So the task is about growing the market to start with, and of course with that growth in market, when you take that initiative, how can that growth be taken in by Mercedes-Benz as such?
Right. I'm going to come to you, in one of the bits you spoke about is trying to make your existing customers your brand ambassadors, Advocacy, how big is advocacy across this segment? How important
In the
is it?
automotive industry, advocacy is possibly one of the single biggest tools or medium through which you can establish your brand and make it either successful or you can end up destroying it. Word of mouth is a very, very strong factor, which would make me as a prospective customer in deciding, or at least in narrowing down to a couple of brands that I would explore positively to decide which final product I pick up.
Delna, one of the things that we notice is that Tata Motors is upped its ante on social media. And it's a tough game, it's a dangerous game, it bites back sometimes. So how do you deal with, do you monitor it 24/7? Are you personally involved in monitoring what happens on social media?
Oh, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, social media is something that we believe in. We believe, and that shows in the way we are present out there, the kind of spends that we're doing. It's been increasing year on year in absolute terms as well as percentage terms. And that's because the consumer today has changed. So the normal way we used to divide consumers in terms of demographics or psychographics, it doesn't work that way. Today it's more a case of the needscape, the life stage. So the way you actually interact with consumers and the way you actually engage with them has changed. The digital medium allows you to do that very, very effectively. We actually have 24/7 monitoring. We have people sitting in our office actually doing this as well. But it really is about engaging, understanding where they come from, what is it that they are saying, being a part of that life, being a part of that lingo is something that we are looking at.
And tell me about a campaign that you've done recently on social media, if you have, and how that worked for you.
So as you know, we unveiled or launched the Zest and Bolt in February. And the way we went about this is live streaming of a launch is pretty common now. But this was the first time that we did a live streaming across 80 sites. And we had something like 7 million people actually watch the live cast. That excitement kind of continued, and we went on building it and being a part of that conversation. So for me, this is something that's unfolding. It's something that we are taking forward going in the next few months as well.
Right. Santosh, in your case, when most of your products are, top of the pyramid, perhaps social media doesn't have such a big role, but digital does. So what role does digital play in your kind of product?
Yeah, you're right, partly saying social media may not play a significant role, but we have observed the other way around, because it's a very small community. If you see the total market size being small, they are networked, but they are networked in a very differentiated manner. So it's more important how you engage with them. So we don't get into fan acquisitions or spends on acquiring fans. We are more into engagement. How can we have a meaningful conversation with them? And some of the channels like Instagram, which is not used by a lot of auto manufacturers, but we use it much more because that's somewhere the engagement is high. Moving on to digital, we again had this, we experimented, we thought whether our consumers would be there, but we are pleasantly surprised to see most of our consumers are very active on this space. Our focus is significant. In fact, our spends have doubled year on year on the digital.
I had to ask you for percentages, what kind of percentage?
We used to be hardly at 5%, now we are almost 15%.
Sorry, before I come back to you, so what's your percentage spent on digital right now?
It would be between 12 to 15%.
What would you tell now?
13 to 15.
Right, okay, you're in the same ballpark. Yes, carry on.
There is significant spends that we are putting, but here we are doing not a banner ad or for example buying certain YouTube likes or videos. Here there is a lot of focus on content that we do in terms of what does our consumers really want here. A lot of our online initiatives like registrations. In fact, we launched the A-Class purely on digital. We are selling cars through digital, which again on a luxury space is bit not that palatable, but India I think is in a very advanced stage of digital maturity. So what works in it's almost similar or getting there close to US. So we feel and it's not the same trend in Europe. So what we do in India is something much more than what's done in other parts of the world.
Avik, what about the Volkswagen experience? What on social media first and the larger digital data?
Yes, both are used, and in fact they are used both by choice as well as by compulsion.
Right.
Because you can't just not be there, because there is so much of opinion that is formed on the social media as well as on the digital platforms. So that gives you an opportunity to build affinity, okay, and also to build aspiration, and especially when being a global brand, using social media and using the digital platforms is a very effective way of communicating about what you are doing across the world.
So I'm going to come to all three of you with this one. Digital, as I said, is a double-edged sword. And one of the problems with the auto sector is media plays up the bad news. You have an accident in your car, yours or yours, and the logo is all over the place, the name is all over the place. So do you have a mechanism to deal with negative instant PR?
Yes, definitely. We, as a matter of fact, have an ORM team which is in-house. In addition, the kind of incidents you mentioned are those kind where we actually have a disaster management system, So you have to be ready for the fact that there will be things that happen out there that you might not might have anticipated. But we have a cell in there. It escalates very quickly. I myself get a message immediately if there's something where one of our brands is mentioned in a negative manner. We decide how we take it forward from there. So it's very active.
Avik, what about you?
What needs to be done is, of course, when we talk about how to manage this, is first and foremost the earliest redressal possible, with the necessity of being as truthful and transparent as you can in the entire redressal process. That is extremely important. Obviously, you would hope that these complaints keep reducing, and you ensure quality assurance more than quality control.
Yes, Santosh, coming to you. How would-
Yeah, we would say one, there is an hygiene in terms of, yeah, we have a social listening tools, there is a CRM team constantly taking care of whether what complaints comes in or any major issues comes up. And then it has two aspects to it. One is media, as maybe what happens there. So definitely, if it is of sensitive in nature, we transparently communicate, get the customer in, and most importantly, we have seen the affected person or whoever, wherever it has arisen, we should get in touch with him or her and try to understand what their problems are. But most importantly, even the media news is short-lived. What stays on the internet is basically those reviews or those complaints or those dissatisfied reviews. And here, only if you have a set of satisfied or a hugely set of satisfied customers, they will take care of this. I don't think we don't follow an approach of anybody from our end trying to manipulate or trying to put stories. If there is a set of serious good fans of your brand, they educate this disgruntled customer. Yes, you had an issue. Even the best of the spacecrafts have issues, and it's an engineering product end of the day. And that kind of a substance is well accepted in a lot of forums, and those threads remain forever.
Thank you, Santosh. On that note, it's time for a quick break. We'll continue this discussion on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard Marketing Masterclass. We're discussing the challenges before India's auto industry. Start with you, Dalna. Again, we established that each of you spends between 12 and 15% on digital, and that's growing. It's not a shrinking sort of share of the pie. How ready are you as a marketer, your team, to deal with the changes in your media mix? And then, more importantly, how ready are all your agency partners in these changes?
So it's not adequate to look at digital in the same way as we looked at conventional media. That's one of the mistakes that we make very often. You need to understand that it is a specialist skill as well. And that's what we understood very early on. We decided to consolidate our business. We looked at specialists in the field. Even from a buying perspective, digitally buying, it's different from the way you approach it in a conventional space. So the kind of people that you actually work with, the partners, you gear them up to that level. The team itself. So a lot of the people who join the team are younger, are used to being in that space. So I hear very often that you will hear things like, let's make a viral video. And that always gets me a little ragged, because there's nothing called a viral video. You make good content, and if it's good content, it goes viral. So it's basically understanding that medium, understanding what works, and willing to invest in it. And as Tata Motors, we've invested in it. We've invested in partners who can understand that medium, in employees who are actually from that generation.
Avik, taking from what she said, has marketing become a complex game where you need grey hair at the top and you need a lot of very young people at the bottom? Is that where it's headed?
I think you need grey cells all through.
Right.
Whether it be grey hair or dark hair, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you need to be relevant. You need to be connected. You need to be very conscious of who really your target customer is, and what is your target customer doing, and what are the ways of getting across to your target customer more effectively in his or her world. So for us in Volkswagen, the marketing team is extremely young. I mean, these are guys who are with smartphones and tablets. Okay, that's their world. But at the same time, that doesn't in any way dilute the seriousness of the business, which is you just don't tick off things saying that I am in the digital world. You don't tick off a Twitter, okay, I have a Twitter handle and I have a Facebook page, and that's not it. It's the deep dive which is very important. I don't need to have X million likes on my Facebook or X million followers. What I need is I need active participants on my Facebook page. I need people who are constantly engaging with me and engaging with the brand. I need people who are giving me feedback, and I am also in turn giving them information and sharing information with them and content with them to basically help create a better connect with the brand.
Santosh, are you getting enough from your agency partner partners, as the case may be.
Yeah, in the last couple of years, we used to see conventional media, the creatives coming in, and then we used to look at they getting adapted to digital. So if there is a print campaign, a TVC goes to YouTube, a print campaign gets into the digital banner adaptation, so-called. That used to be the way conventional advertising happened. But we changed our approach. We have a central digital team now, which takes care of events, PR, social media, CRM, plus the mainline advertising and the brand management. So all the briefs go through digital now. So the entire thing is completely inverted. The digital has to be presented first, and only then the other creative mediums can be presented. So we change the entire outlook. So when the ideas are in digital, it's much better, and that gets adapted to the mainline mediums, and there is a huge emphasis we played in changing this mindset. So these changes we have done, but yes, there are a lot of challenges getting the right talent today, because it's a ever changing medium. So you are not able to get people who can really contribute strategically, because there's a lot of guys who are good coders, good stuff, but then thinking strategically on digital is of course a challenge even in today's time.
Now, auto, the category itself is unique in the sense what we discussed at the break. The pressures on marketers are unique because there's always a CEO focus on a new launch, for example. A new launch in the car industry is always noisy, expensive, high risk, high gain, So can you think of any other category where they have similar pressures as we have in your category?
Any category that's highly involved, in the sense that we've always said that auto is the second most important purchase that a consumer makes. But the reality is that whether it is smartphones or it's any other high value purchase, you would see that as well, I would think.
Right, and you agree with her in finding the comparable categories?
Completely agree with her. But at the same time, would like to add that yes, the auto industry is very high profile. But the auto industry also in a certain manner is very insular, and it needs to learn a lot from other industries which are far more proactive, especially on the digital front and on the front of engagement. We have a lot to learn from them.
Right. Santosh, in your case, you're almost representative of a whole segment of business that we are all concerned about, the luxury market. And what can other categories in luxury learn from what Mercedes-Benz has done? Because it had a long haul in India. You probably have come from huge expectations to real expectations.
Yeah.
What
I think that's rightly put. We have to be realistic of the market. There is there are a lot of data floating around in terms of millionaire households, etc. But when you look at it, it's the top 5-6 markets which still contribute close to 70% of sales. But the future would come from the tier 2 towns. So the luxury brands coming to India have to think how the penetration can work, how the engagement can work, because here the knowledge on luxury is very limited. The value to pedigree, because we have heritage which comes up, is quite limited because it's a very young, new emerging market. So a lot of educative approach in terms of an experiential approach, because there are days of the full page ads and certain TVCs may not work. You need to have one-on-one contact, spread the word of mouth, advocacy more through engagement. So I think that's a key learning we as a brand also had. We shifted our focus to those engagement initiatives, more of reaching out personally, and that's what I feel luxury brands looking at India have to look, then restrict to a mall, a store, and then think that this is it, I'm in India now. So that doesn't work.
He spoke with it, for him the days of the full page ad are over. You're still living in the era of the full page ad. What does the full page ad do for you?
It's, honestly, it's a challenge because there is a pressure, because the automotive category, especially in the mass segment, has been very used to a lot of print spends. And the belief that unless I see a print ad, I am not going to get my inquiries. So it's really about balancing expectations, about ensuring and showing the results through the new media. But you have to actually balance both. You can't, we're not done with the full page ads, I can say that. We still have to continue.
I'm going to close with one question to each of you. How do you see the coming year? Good, bad, ugly? I mean, how do you see this?
Good, definitely good.
Right. What about you, Avik?
Definitely good.
What about you?
Very good.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, each of you, Santosh, Avik and Delna, for taking the time out to come to us. And we hope that all our viewers have lots to learn from this and a lot to profit from. Thank you so much.